Hey everybody, welcome to the Multifamily Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Peterson. Today is going to be a really neat episode where we're going to really dive deep into some things that you should be doing in due diligence. My guest that I have on is doing really big deals, and he's got a really neat perspective. Plus, he has a construction background. Actually, he has a construction company that helps really, I believe, helps him in this process of understanding all the things that go into a due diligence and where are the bodies hidden, right? In other words, where can you go wrong? And really in this business, it's really about the things where you can go wrong and all those things that can lead you to the dark side that we want to educate you on so you'll have a better understanding so you don't make the same mistakes. He comes from a construction background as well, but he's really doing some big things. He's doing some big deals. And I'm not even doing big deals this big. He's figured out some formulas, but he's really going to help us dive in to the CapEx projects of like doing due diligence and what that looks like, and just really peeling back the onion a little bit. So guys, with that said, let's welcome Jorge. All right, George, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
Really excited to have you on the show, and really, we kind of talked about before we got on, construction, and you got a construction company already. Let's talk about CapEx, dude, and because we talked about CapEx. The title of this podcast has got to be more than meets the eye, because everybody comes in, oh, this deal looks great, and then stuff gets real.
Yeah,
and you find it on the due diligence. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, things
actually it starts with the first site visit. Your first site visit you start to uncover cracks.
Correct. Yeah, I stress that a lot. Before we even get to the due diligence, when you're doing your property tour, there's a lot of things you can look at. I know one thing we like to do is we want to get into every down unit. We want to see how bad they are.
Yeah.
Because that can make a significant difference on your CapEx budget.
Because they lie all the time.
Yeah. No, we've caught.
This one just needs a little bit. And it's a burn unit. It's like down.
Yeah, I can tell you about one. We went to property in Oklahoma, and we were asking to see all the down units, and the actual seller met us out there. So this was straight to seller. And they started taking us up the stairs to a unit, and I noticed that some units downstairs were they were secured, like with a bolt and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked him about that. I'm like, what's going on there? And he was like, oh, he started making some excuse or something. We walked back down. I noticed you could get into one. I'm like, well, it's vacant. Can I get in it? And he was kind of hesitant. Went in, and it was a whole flood. The whole bottom floor had flooded, and he was trying to hide that. I mean, it makes no sense because, it's going to come up. We're going to uncover it.
Yeah.
But
normally, I always say this, and you probably feel the same way. If a seller's talking, he's lying.
Yes.
or he's definitely trying to skirt the issue. He was in his mind thinking, man, we could dry this thing out before we go under contract.
There you go.
And they won't know.
Yep.
But you caught him. And isn't that what CapEx really is catching a lot of the stuff that, because I think a lot of sellers don't even know what's going on in their properties.
Yeah, it's very possible.
They have no idea how much CapEx or if you were to ask me, Corey, hey, what's going on in your properties right now? I'd be like, listen, I don't know, but I got a team that maybe can figure it out. But I'm not going there every day and checking it out. So, I only know what I know. Right. But when you're on site and you got a team, you start to uncover a lot of things. You actually are going to know more than probably the seller in pretty quick fashion.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, and then it's like the law, right? Whatever that you find can and will be used against you. Let's talk about that part. What is your process? So let's start with what is your process when you go into a due diligence? What are you guys trying to do? What's your team look like? And how do you methodically go through this stuff?
Yeah, so as far as the CapEx part of it or the deferred maintenance,
a little bit all of it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I don't get too much into the leases. I kind of let the team handle that part of it, but that's the basics, just checking to make sure the leases line up with the rent roll and what type of criteria they're using to get their tenants and whatnot. But when it comes to the construction part, so we want to inspect every single unit. We've got a team that's going unit by unit. They've got, usually we're using a software. So they're checking exactly what we want, taking pictures of exactly what we want.
What software do you use?
The one we've been using the last couple of times is called HappyCo. It's user-friendly. I've used some that are a little not that user-friendly, and it's usually with the pictures and the way it goes in and out while you're taking the pictures.
Yep. Are you using, is that like an iPad or just everybody, people that's using it through their phones?
Both.
Yeah.
You can use it on both. And then, the important part is kind of tying that in on the back end with some numbers.
Yes.
So if you don't do that, then it's just...
So you're taking pictures, but you're also hopefully rating. Are you rating bedrooms, bathrooms? Like, what about all that stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, appliances, flooring.
Does that software allow you to get numbers from appliances and stuff?
Yeah, you can put whatever numbers you want.
Or just take a picture. I guess you can just take a picture of it, huh? I'm just thinking.
Take a picture of it, and then you can also grade it.
Okay.
Whether it needs to be replaced or not.
Yeah, because sometimes we've done this when we're getting real detailed in our due diligence. We'll want to like catalog all our appliances and stuff, so we know where appliances go. Because like sometimes appliance, in unit 2 magically appears in unit 5.
Yep.
and what happened in unit 5? I don't know. Right, but we kind of want to know. Like, we like to track that crap, because if you don't track it, measure it, it will get lost.
That is very true, especially when it comes to multifamily.
Yeah.
There's so much.
People can steal all the time, right? I mean, this is out the back door. We could actually talk about the dirt. Like, the dark side of multifamily is scary, guys.
It is, man. It is. But yeah, so I mean, that's how we get the interior units going, and then as far as the deferred maintenance and the exteriors, we bring in professionals where needed. Like, so we scope all our plumbing lines. We'll have a licensed plumber come scope all the sewer lines. That's not always 100%. A lot of the times you run into a lot of grease in the lines, and you can't really, unless you flush them and then scope the line, you're not really going to know. But it gives us enough information to at least have an idea of what we're.
Is this going to be a real pain in the ass, or is it business as usual?
Right. Roofing, we definitely inspect the roofs, no matter, and this goes for anything, no matter what the seller tells you or the broker. They could tell you the roof was just put on yesterday. You want to get up there and inspect it. Foundation,
because there could have been wind. I mean, this is wind stuff too. Like a wind could take and pull up all the nails, and you're just waiting for the next little storm to show up.
Yeah, no, and you bring up a great point.
That could be part of your strategy, though.
Well, part of our strategy is if we definitely want to go up there, and if we find storm damage, we're having the seller, and this is in our contract, where we have the seller file a claim so that we can get a brand new roof before we even, either we close on it or we get the money, we get the claim transferred over to us. And
that's a nice strategy.
Yeah, we've had that before happen to us, and also to some clients that we help through that. There's a whole other thing if you want to go into that really quick, but I mean, the insurance company, when it comes to multifamily, it's not like residential for the most part.
Yeah.
They'll cover you. They'll say, okay, your roof is damaged. Yeah, we'll give you this. In multifamily, they're going to come out and tell you no right off the bat.
Always.
They're going to send an engineer. The engineer is going to tell you no, there's no damage. It's usually going to be a battle, just because it's a lot of money.
Yeah. No, we've definitely learned this. Also, there's a lesson in insurance. Make sure you're not paying a percentage of each building. Ask me how I know this, because I've done this once or twice. Where sometimes because you want to have an insurance deductible that doesn't kill your it doesn't kill the business plan. Like if you have a big windstorm, you got to be like, hey, $30,000-$40,000 deductible covers it up. Or when you're doing $20 million deal, it's a little different, but it's got to be significant enough that or enough where it's not going to affect your business plan. And you actually get value for the insurance, because we had a property one time where it was $34,000 a building and I'm like, that's how much it cost me to put brand new roofs in. Why do I even have the insurance? Yeah. It's stupid, oxymoron.
Make sure you get rent loss too.
Yeah, exactly.
That could be huge.
Yeah, and you find I always find there's always some roofing damage on every property.
Oh yeah, there's always gonna be something for sure. So foundation's another big one, at least here in Texas and in Oklahoma. You got a lot of shifting of the ground. So we want to have somebody come out and actually take levels and see how bad it is, and also see why it's happening. A lot of times it's just the drainage. If the water's got nowhere to go but underneath the foundation,
Yep.
then it's going to mess it up. For the most part, we also look at
Electrical a little bit,
cosmetic
Yeah.
during due diligence, which
Uh-huh.
I've seen some investors not do. We want to know exactly what it's going to cost us, not just the deferred maintenance, but also any upgrades we're doing during that time.
Signage. You talk about like signage, overall landscaping.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna paint all the buildings, you're gonna add cedar,
Sign,
you're gonna rebrand it, anything you're gonna do to upgrade amenities. If you're gonna upgrade your amenities, redo the office or leasing center. When we're done with due diligence, we know pretty much exactly what it's gonna cost.
What your exact cost is to do the reno to get it in, right?
Yep.
That's a big point. So a lot of people come up with a cost per door, right? And then that's all they do. Oh yeah, I got $300,000 capex or $500,000 capex. What they forget to do is do exactly what you just said, is to actually get real bids from real people and to really understand the cost of it, because a lot of times they're way off. They're not just off, you're way off.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And then what? Then you're calling your capital saying, oh shit, I need more money. And then all of a sudden all your numbers are now, they're not jiving.
Yeah, your returns are,
yeah, you're deleting everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really better off to take the time to understand what you're going to get. So when you at the end of your due diligence, you're taking all that data, and if it's way more than you thought, what are you doing?
Well, you've got a chance, right? You've got your money hasn't gone hard yet. Hopefully, depends what market you're in, and Dallas. Obviously, people were putting money from day one. We haven't done that on a deal.
Oh, dude. Okay, hold on. We got to stop right there. We just got to talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
It just happened to me too, right? You're gonna love this story, right? So it's a Dallas broker, Marcus Millichap, right, on a property in DFW. It's called Arrow. It's a smaller deal. You probably didn't see it. It's okay.
Too small.
Yeah, too small. It's too small. So I'm in a best and final with them, and I really think we're going to win this deal. So then he starts the brokers coaching me on how my best and final offer should look. And so he's like, well, probably look for good portion of the money to be non-refundable. And as soon as the words non-refundable left his mouth, I'm like, whoa, bro, hold on, man. I'm telling you right now, if you're talking about non-refundable earnest money, let's cancel the deal now, because I don't do it. Like, that's for idiots, and I'm not an idiot. But I'm a good buyer. I'm not fast. I'm very diligent. But if you're looking to transact and get a paycheck, I'm probably your best bet, hands down. And it was funny because I pushed on it so hard. He walked it back. And what he was telling me is like, well, that's what the seller's expecting, right? In other words, that's what he told the seller.
Yeah. The seller's
right?
expecting that too.
And so I was like, okay, well, hold on. Let me give you all the other information and give you my background and my history of closing, so you can use that to sell the story of why you still should pick me. And because that's what brokers want a lot of times. They got to sell us. They told the story to a seller, and then they got to tell a new story to justify why I'm still the best bid, even though I'm not going to go hard. Right.
No, you nailed it, man. It is telling a story, though. To get some of these deals, you really got to have the best story as the buyer. But we don't do the day one hard. Yeah. So so because that, now you have leverage. Yes. Honestly, even if you messed up and it's more cosmetically, I mean, it is what it is. You still have that leverage at that point, and you can go back and... Because you got all the information, and you did it the right way, where you collected real bids. Right. And you can use that as... So that's where I wanted to go with this, is because what most people do is they look at stuff and they don't really have any true bids or... if you're going to have a roofer look at it, roofer, give me a bid on this project. If the plumbing looks jacked up, give me the bid. Give me all the bids to fix it all. So then, if you're going to do landscaping, additional landscaping, or like it's jacked up, get bids. Right. No, I've seen buyers say, well, I inspected the plumbing, and, the plumber told me there's issues here and here. And I'm like, okay, well, what's it going to cost? Oh, he didn't give me a price. Okay, well... What are you going to do with that? I mean... It goes nowhere, right? Yeah.
And so again, like, so a lot of times this is the whole part of like what brokers' job, like a lot of them go into this other category because they just tell shit stories to sellers. And so you've got to go back, and that's why you got to have all that ammo, because they've got to tell a story. You have to give them a story to go sell to the seller.
Yeah, it's collecting ammo.
And if you don't have all that paperwork and you slam them with paperwork, there's a good chance you're not going to go get your price reduction, because that's why you do all this stuff.
Correct.
To really know your number, but the other part is to, if it's significantly more, which, listen, it's always significantly more.
Yeah, and I don't want to make it seem like we always go back to the seller and try to get a discount. I mean, we don't, unless it's, something we didn't see on the property tour. I see a lot. I know what kind of,
that's the whole
rough numbers.
That's the whole part of knowing more than the seller, right? The seller thinks they've got a gym. You're thinking, no, this is a shithole, okay? And it's going to cost a lot of money to fix it, okay? Because you didn't tell us about this, and this, John, right? You lie. It's not a gym, bro. It's broken. And dude, we had one time, there was a property that we had where somebody on the second story was taking diapers and just throwing them like that on top of the roof, dude.
That's funny, man. We just finished doing one of the roofs on that portfolio I was telling you.
It was a real shit show, by the way.
Yeah, I mean,
literally.
Yours was literally. This one was just, they were taking their trash, like bags of trash, and throwing it onto the roof, and the roof was full of bags of trash.
Give a picture of that to a seller. Hey, they're like, oh no, the property's great, and then you show them a pile of shit.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh.
Literally a pile of shit.
And I mean, so sometimes those pictures tell, it's funny, but that's really what you're doing by doing a really good, thorough due diligence, having bids. You're creating opportunities to negotiate in good faith. It's not even like you're trying to be malicious, but you're just trying to be honest of like, listen, here's some things that are really broken that it's not in the normal thing. We're figuring that we're going to buy a property that's running and operating very, somewhat well. Mm-hmm. Like all the major things work, but then when you start finding things, listen, your roofs are all dinged up, and you should have replaced them, but you didn't.
Right.
And you didn't, and so, but I'm gonna have to. So why should I? I don't make any money on roofs. I don't get to charged more rents for. Hey, you got roofs, so we're gonna give you a $25 bump.
We ask for a lot of info up front too. I mean, we ask, for all the details on what they've spent on CapEx and certain other things before we even get there. So, I mean, if the more they disclose at that point, the more prepared we'll be. But if they don't want to disclose much and then we get there during due diligence, they've got to expect it.
Yeah. I mean, and again, you're not trying to pull punches. You're just trying to be like, we're just trying to do good, clean business.
Yep.
And that's really what it all comes down to is like, some operators do it really well, and then other operators, they just don't care. And when you look at it from the other part of the perspective, like you just said, you're raising, $15-20 million. That's other people's money. You have the absolutely responsibility to do a good job on your due diligence.
Yeah. To me, I mean, it's just lazy, man.
Yeah.
There's no other word for it. I mean,
because you got to be able to sleep at night, right?
Yeah. It takes a lot of work to, I mean, we literally walked 1,275 units. That was the portfolio we closed before, and then we walked all 850 units. It's not easy. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it.
When you think about due diligence too, like, what's your biggest places where you've seen people really hide stuff? Like, where do you see skeletons?
Like I mentioned before, the down units for sure. They underplay that big time. Plumbing. I mean, if there's a plumbing issue, they know. Most likely it's backing up all the time. It's there. Not so much on the roofing. I guess somewhat. We've had some.
I always say water, right, or like flooding.
Yeah. Or they'll say it's a new roof, and it's not a new roof. They did a really crappy overlay, or they just coated it and just hiding the really bad roof underneath. I would say those are probably the most common.
No, I get it. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of skeletons in there.
Yeah.
I mean, you can find like, oh gosh, we found mold one time, like hiding mold.
Mm-hmm. Hiding it.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's why I say, because like you keep painting over it, but you're like, wait, what's that?
Yeah.
It looks like mold. Oh no. Well, hold on.
That's some design work.
When you go out to these bigger properties, what kind of team do you bring when you go to a due diligence? As far as like your physical team, I'm not talking about the contractors that show up, but
yeah,
what does that look like?
I obviously I use my construction company to go out there, so I've got a couple of my estimators will come out, some of my project managers, depending how much we've got going on internally. At the same time, then the property manager will come out, whoever's going to manage the property.
Do you guys manage your own properties?
In-house, we don't. We started with third party, and then last couple deals we've actually co-GP'd with somebody that has in-house.
Yeah.
I'm okay working with both. I think you've got to manage the manager either way.
Absolutely. Set expectations.
Yep. I think eventually maybe we'll go to in-house. I'm not thrilled about taking that on. I mean, it's a whole other business. I'm in the same boat. Right, I think about it all the time, and then I'm like, do I want to have an office? Right, because it really gets into my sunsets and palm trees life. It starts cutting away from all the fun, and then I got I feel like I'm gonna get a chain of ball. Mm-hmm. A lot of employees.
Yeah, so I keep saying no, but part of me says if I can control the culture and have a better product, or at least control my product better, right?
No, it definitely comes with that. That's for sure. So yeah, I mean, as far as the team size, obviously that depends on how many units we're walking, but not counting the subcontractors or whoever, it's usually about half and half of my construction company, and then the other half is the property manager.
10, 12 people probably?
Yeah, right about there.
Yeah. Usually how many days are you staying on property or
the 1,300 unit portfolio, that took us a full week.
Yeah.
It was brutal. It was like in Houston, 100 and something degrees.
Yeah.
That was a rough one. The one that we're working on now, the 850 unit one, that only took us about, I want to say it was 3 days, like 3 full days. We don't mess around. Like when we go, that's what we're doing, till from the morning.
Yeah, I say we typically spend 3 days. Like, day one is kind of like if it's a smaller property, we do smaller. Ours are usually 150 units, 200 units, right?
Yeah.
So day one is like set up and like run comp sets. Day two is we start doing unit inspections. Every day we're meeting contractors to get bids on things, right? And trying to line up. And that's the important part, is trying to line up all your contractors to be there while you're there.
Yes, you got to.
That's a full-time gig too.
It is, man. It is, and you got to have. So that's usually I've got one person. It's either myself or someone else that's kind of in charge of that. And then the first couple, I tried doing both. Yeah. Doing the inspections and stuff, and also managing, and it was just a disaster. But yeah, you got to plan it out right. Yeah,
because every vendors are coming on site, and you got to try to get them very specific what you're trying to find. Yeah. And honestly, sometimes what you're trying to do is get them to give you an inspection without paying for it. Like, that's what I always try to do.
Right? It depends what they're doing. I mean,
for scoping lines we're paying, but for the pest guy, right, that's going to do my pest control.
Correct.
I'm not paying them to go check my property. I'm like, hey, listen, we're going to be needing a pest control person, and we want you to figure out and find and report to us what you find.
Yeah, and that one's been hit or miss for us. I mean, we've had, I know one.
Some will do it, some will don't, right?
Like, yeah. We had one guy for free, and he literally went into every single unit and spent the entire time with us. Couldn't get somebody to go for free and at least check the exteriors, and it was. Yeah,
it's crazy. I mean, so that's always our attempt and sometimes, so we don't have a construction management, so we're not trying to do, but we're trying to get do not exceed bids. So I call that do not exceed bids because these are the bids. These are not the bids that we're going to use when we do the jobs, but these are the bids that we are going to submit to the seller.
Right.
Those nice big company, likes to work on multifamily bids. We like to get those bids because then when we actually go submit it for like the roof, sometimes you just need the roofer, not the big roofing company, but just like the roofer, the guy swinging a hammer, know what I'm saying. But like,
I know what you're saying.
Sometimes that's a big discrepancy in, and it's the same roof. So
No, it'll definitely be a price difference. You just gotta, the guy with the hammer, just make sure.
yeah,
he's got
and that really is a benefit for you having your own construction company, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, I've always seen it as a benefit. It's the same as property management. We control the people being brought onto our property and how they're being vetted and making sure they get paid and just avoiding any of those issues.
How did you come up with the name Elevate?
Man, I've had people ask me about the construction company, the J&T. I've never had somebody ask me about the Elevate.
Yeah, screw J&T. Let's talk about Elevate.
It kind of came to me and my partner. We did coaching with Dave Lindahl. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm on his board. I'm on his wall.
Cool.
10 years ago. I'm an OG, bro.
Nice. Yeah, he's been around for a while.
He's been doing it for a long time.
Yeah. We had decided we were going to do multifamily. We were doing single family before that, and we just thought about elevating the wealth of individuals, elevating the community where residents live, and just felt like a good fit.
It's fit all the way around. Elevate yourself, elevate everything, right? Yeah, create better communities. It's something you get passionate behind, right?
Yep.
So couple quick rounds of questions. I think we've kind of nailed down some why you want to do a really good job with due diligence, because it'll save you money by understanding what your real costs are, so that because you may or may not want to do a deal, right? Mm-hmm. It'll help you negotiate.
Getting into a bad deal.
Yeah, it helps you negotiate a little bit better.
Yep.
Absolutely, because if you do it right, and with your team, team in there, I always say, man, everybody learns more when you're on site. Anytime you can, and that's kind of like it's a different event that creates team building. I don't know how you feel about it, but even if we walked away from a due diligence, which very rarely, from a deal that we're going to do, very rarely happens. It's only happened once so far. But team building's huge during those events because everybody's kind of together.
No, I've never thought about it that way, man. But yeah, especially the way we usually we'll get an Airbnb, a big house. Everybody will go there. It's almost like a business retreat.
Yeah, because everybody's breaking down what they, it's like the conversations after. Because for you guys listening right now, if you've never been on a due diligence, what you see is some interesting stuff, story. Man. I mean, you see some hoarders. You see, the filth that people live in sometimes. And then you see these clean people, like right next to the cleanest people you ever know, like the next door over is super clean, and then by a junkyard dog right next to him.
I think of one unit that nobody wanted to even walk into. It was just dog feces everywhere. Everywhere you stepped, and somebody was living there.
Yeah,
literally every single corner of that.
And
unit.
Sometimes they're there while you're there, and you're just like, I'm gonna not try to look at what's going on. I can't even make eye contact at this point because I feel so embarrassed. He's got to be embarrassed.
It's bad, but it creates great stories. You're right.
But those are the stories that happen at the end of the day. That's the breakdown, and everybody's just, it's really, I can't describe the atmosphere, but I say that it is truly unique and genuine, and it's fun. It's a little bit of excitement, and because it's a new opportunity. It's not the same grind that most of your team members are doing on their normal. And so it's a way to kind of celebrate. Yeah. And we always make it to where if you're invited to a due diligence, you're on the special team, right? Like for our managers, because we sometimes bring a new manager just on the team to experience it, even though they're not going to be running the property, but for them to get invited to do the unit, to do unit inspections, right? Someone's got to do it. So that's just a team member. But if they get invited, that's like stepping up. Like, so, it's like giving recognition to, you're on the due diligence team. Oh yeah, that's what I'm doing, right? Because now they're talking with the owner, because I don't interact with my team, I'm sure you don't either, but they love being around it.
Yeah.
And they like to say that's the owner, that's the guy, right? Yeah. That's who we work for. And he's a good dude, right? He's a normal guy. He's not a suit. Because most people assume that most of us are suits. And I feel like most of us are not.
Good point. Yeah, most of us are not, from what I've seen at least.
Yeah. We're just guys that decided to do something a little bit bigger and challenge ourselves.
Yep. Most of us are not scared of rolling up our sleeves either, and getting a little dirty too.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so kind of going our lightning round here a little bit. By the way, thanks for sharing the due diligence piece, because I don't think people understand that's a big piece of the pie when you're out there looking at properties. Right?
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I agree.
What book are you reading?
Right now, I just finished 3 Feet from Gold. I heard Joe Fairless mention it, and then I checked it out. It's a good one.
That's a good book, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. I like the way it's written, and it's good.
Yeah, it really is. It's really talking about and a lot of us. So we're 3 feet. If we're just keep on picking, we're so close. A lot of us don't even know that we're so close. Yet, something. That's the story was the guy that he bought a mine and he was picking, and he just
he decided to go.
He went the wrong way.
Yeah.
He went the wrong way.
Yeah.
And so, but the other guy was a little smarter. He's like, hey, I don't know anything about gold mining. I'm going to hire a geologist. Right? Because he didn't know anything. Yeah, he did his due diligence. And his finding was he was 3 feet just the other way. And it hit the mother lode. And I'm like, that is apartment investing 101.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what we just talked about. Due diligence. Getting the team, give you all the information. So, because we are usually 3 feet from gold.
Yeah. No, I know people get tired of looking at properties and submitting LOIs, and you've submitted 100 LOIs and you've looked at 150 properties. Well, you look at 2 more and you find a deal, or you stop.
Yeah. And here, how many deals does it take to make you successful? 1 maybe. If you're doing a $20 million deal, it's just 1.
Yeah.
But listen, I think about my first deal. I bought a $3 million deal, right? And I sold it for 8.8. Bought it for 3.2, sold it for 8.8.
That's a hell of a deal.
5 years later, that deal set me free, right? And I owned 60% of it. So, I got a big fat paycheck. And so I always say one deal will set you free in multifamily. It's not the same as doing a little one single family home when you're buying scale of economy.
Correct.
Right. And really, that's the game. It's all about that cash flow and what it provides, but more importantly, what it provides to investors too. What piece of advice could you give our listeners? When you think about your career in multifamilies, what would you want to transfer and tell our audience?
I kind of always go back to this when I get asked this question, is just focus. There's so much noise out there right now, and with social media and just everything's in your face. Pick what you're really passionate about. If it's multifamily, okay, focus on it and conquer it, and then maybe pay a little more attention to the noise, and maybe go do another. I don't know, if you want to do some single family after multifamily, probably nobody's going to do that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, right. Or at least focus on getting your Jeep and having a new hobby, right? So I always find new hobbies to get focused on.
Yeah, I need to do better at that. But I'm too focused on the business.
Yeah, but there is something in that, though, right? A lot of us, especially nowadays, there's so much things that are trying to grab our attention, and but keep your eye on the prize.
For sure.
That is what has made me successful as well. Is I've always kept my eye on the prize, and I got better and closer to the dreams and goals. Well, listen, if people want to get a hold of you or find out more about your company, what you guys do, how do they find you?
Like I mentioned before, website's probably the easiest, which is ElevateCIG, commercialinvestmentgroup.com. We're all over Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram.
You guys got a good marketer.
Thank you.
Yeah. Who does that for you? Someone that you know or someone you hired? I don't have to say the name.
No, it's not I was doing a lot of it myself till a few months ago, where we brought on a VA.
Okay, good. You just taught her all the stuff you're doing and said, now you can do my job?
Yes.
The jobs that I was doing?
Yes. But yeah, I've always been a little passionate about marketing too. I love it. If they want to shoot me an email as well, it's Jorge, Jorge, @elevatecig.com. If you shoot me an email, I can send you guys due diligence checklist, I've got a whole slide I put together on CapEx and how to hire a general contractor. So,
Oh, awesome, dude. Cool, man. Hey, listen, let's take him up on that offer. I'd love to have him have 1,000 emails in his email box, and or something like
awesome.
that. That would be cool. That'd be a good checklist to have. Hell, you might even get my email.
Shoot it over, man.
I could. Hey, the one thing that I'm always not afraid to ask is for help.
Yeah.
And so, because this business, people can help you. Trust me, you will not know everything. It's part of the reason
They do too, which is what I love.
There's lots of ways to, shave a little bit of money here and a little there, and understand this business a little bit better each and every day. That's why you're listening to this podcast now, is to get informed. And thank you for that. What Jorge said is the power of focus, right? Being focused is probably one of the most important things you can ever do in life and in business, because it will allow you to get to the next level. And a lot of that becomes, in my opinion, I think you need to focus on your belief in yourself, your belief in what you're trying to accomplish, and to have your eyes so clearly on the prize. You'll see the obstacles, but it'll never get you off your track. You will always find a way to go around or over or whatever obstacle's in the way, guys, because it all comes down, in my opinion, to belief. If you believe it, you can achieve it. Your paradise is possible.